insights from executive firm founders and B2B professional firms. We'll dive into their story, how they got started, their challenges and opportunities, and how they're shaping their business for the future. For those of you who are watching this, I'm Amisha Srimankar, founder of Vectra Growth Partners, and we help B2B firms and executive firms build repeatable and predictable pipeline of leads. Today's guest is Nico Sanguinetti, founder of Sermor Partners. I hope I said your last name correct.
You did it pretty well.
Okay, all right, good. And Nico, thank you so much for joining. I know you're joining us from sunny LA. Is that right?
Correct. Yes,
Awesome.
we've
How
been
are you
based
today?
here. Very well. Tired. It's been a long morning, but I guess that's a normal day of recruiters.
Yeah,
Mm.
busy is good, huh? I would
Yeah, this is
take
good always.
busy is
Yeah.
good. Awesome. Nico, for people who are watching this, do you mind doing a brief introduction, please?
Yes. So as we were talking last time, and I think that's a print in our business. I was telling you that we don't. So for everyone that is hearing out there, we don't hire people that have previous recruiter experience, and that's my case. So I'm Nico Sanguinetti from Argentina. I'm an engineer. I never thought I was going to end in recruitment. And after moving to Chile for a shipping business, Michael Page, that was a very large firm at the moment, one of the top ones from the UK, reached out to me with the idea of becoming a recruiter. I remember at the beginning I was kind of very skeptical about this idea, and then they kind of sold me the commercial side of recruitment, where it was something that interested me. So I ended up joining the firm to open the Chilean office. I did that very successfully by always in sales and marketing team. So then I became very quickly the manager of sales and marketing. I think from the beginning, what like caught me about being a recruiter, it was that in recruitment, it's very measurable. You always know where you need to get. If the company is well set and the career is well set, you always know your targets in order to get to the next promotion and get to the next level. And so I'm someone very competitive. I kind of like was crushing targets all the time. So I became like the growth was exponential. And I think that's what caught me from the very beginning. After doing that and setting that office for success, the same person that brought me to that office relocated me to LA to open the LA office. And over there, I did it from the beginning with technology. So I specialized in ad tech and marketing technology. I think the main difference between both markets when it comes to recruitment is that, for instance, in Chile, the model that this agency had about recruitment, that it was very
Mhm.
aggressive. Back in the day, you guys need to understand that recruitment was done by psychologists. It was very, very different.
Interesting.
Psychologists would like analyze. They would analyze your personality. They would like check a lot of checks if like it was a good fit for the company, because you guys need to imagine that people would stay for a longer run back in the day,
Yeah.
right? Like nowadays it's more like 2 years or like 1 year, and then like they move to another one depending on the industries. And so back then it was by psychologists, and it was way softer, the approach, right? It wasn't
Mhm.
as commercial. So I think this company kind of crushed the market in Latin America by having a very commercial approach, to very pushy. And I think the difference between that market and the US is that the US was already developed. That idea of being a recruiter and not much the psychologists doing it, but like people that were coming more from the commercial side, it was already developed. And I think the difference between both countries, where I need to compare how I built both offices, it was in Chile, we kind of crushed the market. We kind of went after every lead that we had. We did recruitment from the technical ones to the commercial ones to like technology, finance, all of what we could get. And it was very successful. And
Mhm.
then in the US, the first year we tried to do something similar and it failed. It really, really failed. So that's what I learned. We needed to be specialized. So
Mhm.
US, in my opinion, and that happens until today, you need to become the expert in your market. And that means you select a niche and you meet the best of the best candidates in that niche. And then at the moment of developing business, or at the moment that you need to fill out processes, you are the one with the network that is really valuable, right? And I think
Yeah.
that sets you up for success when it comes to recruitment in markets that are developed.
Gotcha.
And I think that's something that we replicate in our company today.
So remind me, you talked about using psychology as one of the instrumental measures to measure or assess candidates. Is that what you're doing at Sermor Partners, or that is not the approach you're taking?
No, that we nowadays we talk to the clients about the culture of the company. For instance, when it comes to consumer goods, companies are way more traditional, right? So you go to talk to consumer goods, and it's a bit slower pace, and companies want to have like this type of candidate because maybe it is a family company or maybe it is a company that has been there for a long time. So you need a candidate that is coming from similar companies, but you don't do a whole psychological assessment. That was more back in the day. Yes, you have tests that sometimes candidates can take. And
Sure.
then I feel when it comes to technology, for instance, that I recruit more on the technology side, it is more about the specific experience these candidates are bringing to the table.
Yeah.
So sometimes they give you target companies that they have been working on. Sometimes like it's certain technologies that they need to have in their experience. But I feel like when it comes to technology, at least in my niche, people are very similar to each other. Like when it comes to the psychological assessment, right? Because it's a very fast-paced environment. If you survive there, it's for a reason.
Yes. Yes. I'd love to know, on your site, you've been called the MarTech Whisperer and the machine that never stops. How would you describe your personal recruiting style that benefits your clients and candidates? Because I know you said you are heavily invested in the marketing tech. You also do consumer goods, you do SaaS. Which of these sectors, and I know you have a team that does the other things, which of these sectors or these niches are you like, oh, I know this very well, and this is my style that I bring to the table that employers like, and they're like, Nico, please take care of this for us?
Yeah, well, number one, what I mentioned today, that I've been doing it for a long time. So it's like there's a moment where you have been doing it for so many years that your name is known in the network. If you don't know a candidate that is really good, someone else is gonna refer it to you. So that's really important. At the same time, it's really important to know where to go to find candidates. It's like from the outreach message, right? Like you have recruitment process is okay. First, I need to understand where are these candidates working. Then I need to understand like what are the skills that they need to bring to this job, and then I need to understand how to be able to reach out to them and then to answer to me, right? That's something that no one talks about, and the outreach message and how you get to them is very, very important. I think when it comes to my industry specifically, and nowadays we see it also on the other side of the business, that is consumer goods. I think that if we go to the client side, and actually with candidates too, but like the client side, the number one thing is urgency and quality. If you are able to have, like we recruiters, a lot of people says we don't sleep. It's not like, sometimes people think, okay, this is about like linking people. Reality is way harder than that. We fill out process. We are able to send candidates 2 days after the job came in. We took the job brief, right? And that's with quality candidates that typically are a fit for the position. So I think that in the market that we are nowadays, that we are even competing with AI, right? And things have become even faster. That's the two main things, like knowing your industry, like being the expert in your industry, and knowing very fast where to go, and the urgency.
I love that you brought up AI. I'd like to know how, and you said that it's kind of like this competitive beast. How do you tackle with it? How are you making friends with it because recruitment is a very human-centric business, right? Relationships are everything. You need to assess candidates. Where do you use AI, and where does the human element take over?
Well, there's very different aspects of AI, right? If we talk about the operational side of agencies, it's a must to incorporate the AI agents, because at the end, recruitment is a lot about. I used to have a boss called Murillo that he would always say, like, for being a good recruiter, you need to love repetition. You literally need to love repetition. Like every job that you have is very transactional, very fast, and you need to kind of like go through, screen a lot of candidates, and it's kind of doing the same task over and over again. So AI agents for operations of recruitment agencies are amazing. Like you set up an AI agent and can do those tasks way faster than you do. So on the operational side, it's awesome. Then when it comes to dealing with the clients and kind of competing with AI, it's impossible to compete. But yes, I can tell you that AI doesn't do the same work as a recruiter. Like I have a lot of clients that they have AI, or like an interview with AI, kind of like assessing more what we were talking today about, like the psychological aspect. But then like they still need a recruiter in order to make sure that that's the right decision, right? So we're still there. Then another piece that I have seen that I think we're in a strange moment when it comes to AI is that I have a lot of clients kind of, they are not looking at the job. They post a job, let's say on LinkedIn, right? And you get like 4,000 applications. Some of them, they're not even looking at those applications any longer, because the AI has improved on both ends. It has improved on the client side. There's clients that they're using AI even as a recruiter to kind of like map the market and bring you all those candidates. And then candidates are also using AI to adapt the rest. Some of them in the lower level, they only adapt the resume to the job, but some of them, they know how to use a chatbot to apply to all these roles, and at the same time, like tweak your resume for each role that you are applying. And
Sure.
that is being seen by clients. So a lot of clients said, okay, like I'm not gonna see this because a lot of the candidates I'm talking to, they are not really the ones that appear in the resume. So it's a waste of time at the end.
Yeah.
So, and then you have the candidates saying, okay, I'm not applying directly to jobs online because they never called me. You know what I mean? So you have that strange part over there that is kind of like in the middle zone. I think the more we progress with AI, I think this is gonna kind of like is gonna come together. But
Yeah.
now you have both worlds that they're a bit in a strange place when it comes to that.
So that's an interesting thing where segue into what do you think about the job boards, like the jobs posted on LinkedIn or Indeed? Do you think these really work? And I know they can't replace what an executive recruiter does. How do you consult your clients? I mean, has it ever been a situation where like, okay, Nico, we're just going to advertise this on LinkedIn and we'll just do this on our own. We're not going to like, retain you for something like this.
Yes, in my opinion, if you have let's say a recruiter or an assistant inside your company that is in charge of like going through the screening of that, I would say that like you're wasting an asset. Just like you hire an AI consultant, make an AI chatbot that screens them. Don't waste a human asset on that. That's my opinion. It's too many of them, and I would say only like 3% are the candidates that you want to have in your job, right? Because typically what happens is like the company has a certain culture, they want a person coming from certain places sometimes, so like they want the person to be located, even if it is remote, you want the person to be located in a certain place. Then you have all of these variables that sometimes they don't appear in the job description because you can't just like expose everything that you need in the job description. It's a bit controversial.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Especially if it's a high profile employer who wants to keep things a little low key. I'd love for you to walk us through a typical search with Sermor Partners from the first conversation with a client to the moment a candidate signs. Where do you feel that your process is uniquely strong? I mean, you could pick any niche within.
Well, so I think we talked about it last time, right? Just to give you a glimpse of how we treat candidates and how this company was born. Like actually, Sermor Partners means love. It's like my colleague is my business partner is Armenian, so Sir is love in Armenian. More is I'm Argentinian, so it's like Spanish. Love in Spanish, and the idea was to do recruitment with love, and that was because of candidates. So we come from a company, as I said before, that we met there. That company was a public organization that when you're public, you need to all the time, every month, you need to present results to investors. Investors typically don't know about recruitment. They don't even know what's the hustle on the bottom line. So what will happen is that target that you need to reach, it will impact on the bottom line of processes. So what will happen is we would see a lot of bad practices of someone trying to close a job for a candidate that it wasn't really good for that company, but it's still like pushing it because you needed to get to that number, and that came from the top down, right? Like so they were asking us for revenue, and we need to fill that revenue. So when we left that company, we said, all right, we're gonna build a boutique agency where we are gonna improve the candidate experience. We are gonna improve also the client experience by the urgency and the specialization and being experts in each niche that we are gonna represent. Mm-hmm. The real idea was to really care about the candidates. So I feel a company like ours, what that's very, very different from larger agencies, is that we are with the candidate throughout the whole journey. Mm-hmm. Like a candidate that starts with us, you will be surprised how many times like someone is recruiting. Nowadays, there's agencies that they just like send a job description. They don't even interview candidates, right? They say to the client, okay, these are the candidates they're interested. And then if the client says, okay, this one, then they talk for like 10 minutes to the candidate, just explain a little bit the company, but it's not a process where they ask the candidate, right? Like, what is it that you want for your next move? And analyzing if the company that you have, right, is the right fit for them, depending on what they want. I think that's number one, is very important. Then we go with them throughout every interview. We are constantly communicating with them to see how they felt, understand their feedback of the process. If there's any changes on the initial thoughts that they have about the company and the process itself, we address it with the client. So we are all the time making sure that this is aligned, and that at the end is not only for the candidate, but also for the client. Is if you get to an offer stage, we are making sure that like almost 90% of our offers are being signed. Yeah. So that means that we are making sure throughout the whole process that both parts are aligned And when we get to the final offer stage, basically it's going to be smooth, right? Because we've been kind of updating and doing our job.
Yeah. I'd like to know, do you only recruit for the local market, like in California, Los Angeles, or do you place candidates outside of the state?
So in both, so we used to have construction as well. Now we do have someone working in construction, but that was a larger team that we migrated to consumer goods that is performing very well. And I mentioned in construction because construction is per project, and that is an industry that you work per state. What happens in consumer goods is that you typically have the headquarters of the company outside California. Maybe you're recruiting someone in California, but the teams are in another part of the country. And even if you want to bring that business in, you need to go to the headquarters or go to the boss, right?
Sure.
And so it ends up being national. So consumer goods is national, is across the whole country. And I would tell you, we are working jobs in Canada as well. And then technology is let's call it like a weird animal, because technology after COVID became completely remote. A lot of companies at least became remote. And that opened doors for recruiters to work in regions that we never thought we would. I have closed jobs in Vietnam, in Singapore, in China, in Korea, in India. I have worked roles in India. India is really hard, actually. Latin America, in UK, in Germany, Spain. So I've been all over. I use in each place I have an agent. I've been in recruitment for so long that I typically know people that they know that market, so they help me with like faster flow of candidates. But yes, technology has become a bit more international, I would say, right? You have a lot of American clients that they are building the team here, but at the same time, they are building the team in APAC, or they're building in EMEA. The technologies are the same technologies over there. And sometimes the approach of recruiters in those regions is not the speed or the urgency or the things that they used to have in the US. So they hire you to have the same process. That's there. True. Nowadays, with the technology that we have, I can be talking, everyone knows English. Like I talk to like China and they talk to me in English. Singapore, Korea, the same. So, and I feel like happens a lot in technology. Consumer goods, I feel like the English is not there yet. And then we talk over Zoom, like we have the video call. And to be honest, it's a very smooth process, even that I'm on the other side of the world.
Amazing. Yeah, I know. Gotta love technology, right? For making things so much smoother where you're...
And I think other industries are going to catch up with that. I think consumer goods in one moment that is a bit more traditional, it's going to happen too.
Yeah.
But as I always say, like technology, and even more my industry that is marketing technology and like software as a service, that is kind of the Silicon Valley, what it used to be Silicon Valley. They are always on the top of the innovation, right? So like it's an industry that is always using the new.
I love it. I want to know when something doesn't go as planned, because everything is ever perfect. Say a candidate.
In recruitment, nothing goes as planned.
I know, right? So like in a situation where a candidate backs out, right? Like after everything is done and both parties are ready to sign, the role changes or the timing slips. How do you handle that with clients? So you just, you still maintain trust and they come back to you and they're still working with you.
Yeah, it could be. It happens. You will laugh, but it has happened several times that sometimes the wife steps or the husband steps in at the last part of the process and says, "No, we are not going there." Yeah, yes. There's everything in recruitment. Everything could happen. I think that's what a good recruiter is about. When you become a recruiter and you're successful, you start always thinking ahead. Like you always think about what could go wrong, and because recruitment, you are dealing with, your product is human and it's alive, and you need to understand that it's not like selling tires, right? To like a truck company where like if you have the sale done, that's that. No, always something could happen. So it's always important to have that exit, right? It's not always possible, but for instance, like to our consultants, we always teach them that a process is never closed until it's closed. So you always have the second candidate that is in the process that is a strong candidate as well, and that could be the option B to close that, right? And that's the best way to go about it. When you're prepared for those moments, is when your clients really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and the trust is retained as well. Yeah. Nico, I'd love to know, after all these years in recruiting and, you being an entrepreneur and doing this, what are the challenges that you're seeing for the industry? I mean, for the current landscape that we are in, and also for you and your business?
Yeah. I don't know where to start. I think from the days, if I think of it, from the days that I used to do recruitment and how I was trained. Definitely, I know that most of the recruitment agencies that are starting, they do it remotely. When you train people remote, it's a completely different ballgame. You really need to be on top of them. Even more with the Generation Z, it's not the same as, like, it's just different. Like, they are like fast. They are, think of 700 things at the same time. You need to like find a way to keep them focused. I think one way that we found in our company to be able, because as I was saying at the beginning, we don't hire consultants that are already recruiters. We typically hire people that are coming from other businesses, that we find the skills for our business, that they're a match for our business. And I think that's a key for success, in our case at least, because when you bring someone that has the skills but has never thought of recruitment, and all of a sudden you teach this, that is a craft that sets you for life, and they are successful, and they can see the money is good in recruitment. So that's important to have like good compensation plans. But when they see that, on one end you have someone that is going to be loyal to you for the rest. And it doesn't matter if they leave the company, they're going to be grateful to you for forever. That's very important. And at the same time, like you are helping them to set up a career for themselves. So I think I can't think of anyone in our company that has worked for us and is leaving to be something that is not recruiting. And that's very powerful. They kind of like have it in their DNA. Then coming back to what I was saying of like remote, I think is very, very important. What I was saying at the beginning, like recruitment is a measurable business. Because it's measurable, you can find a way to build a career for your people that is always about knowing where you need to get in order to get promoted. So it's kind of, even if you are, and that I think is the key, one of the keys for having people remote, having them engaged with a fast career track. Right, so we were able to like kind of find the different goals they need to hit in their career path in order to get to the next level. And those next level, they can't be separated for too many months, right? Like if someone goes at the speed that we go, at least in 3 months, it should be promoted at the maximum, right? So like we have someone, for instance, is our director, and like she was hired like literally she came in as I think it was a sourcer, like screening candidates only 2 years ago. So that means that she had at least eight promotions. Each promotion comes with a bump in salary. Each promotion comes with a bump in commission, and each promotion comes with a bump on the title. And I think that's something that we do very well, to have people staying with us and being engaged with the business. When it's remote, it's very hard to keep people engaged.
Yeah. So talk to me about your team. What does that look like today?
It's about, we are hitting the 10 members. What I'm very proud of is that we do, so for instance, another thing that we do is like celebrating a lot. So we go out for dinner, so we take them in outings. We do every quarter, we have a special trip for the high flyers, or we call it like winner circle. That is basically the guys that they reach certain target in revenue are basically they are paid a trip to somewhere in the country. We have been in every state already, but I'm very proud to say that nowadays when we go to these trips, most of the team is coming. From that means that we have a pretty mature team that is a small team, but is mature and is performing. Now, like, I think our challenge is how to get to the next level, right? How to go from a 10 people agency that is because we can't complain. Our numbers are great, but we are only 10, right? If we go to the next level, we need to find those the middle managers that are the ones that can replicate our style of management. And that's what we are kind of still going back and forth, because it's not an easy task. We can teach and train on the way to do recruitment and the way that we do it, but the way of training, like for someone to train the same way that we do, still we have had our learnings on that one. It's not easy.
Interesting. And that you kind of answered that because you want to like grow your team. But when you think of the next 6 to 12 months, what's the biggest growth lever for Sermor Partners? Is it hiring more team members, which I think you are? Is it going deeper in your existing niches, or is it new verticals or geography or services? What are you looking forward to in this year?
Yes, so for us is what I just said. For us, we have a mature team. Performing very, very well, loyal, we love each other, we act like as a family, so we can't, on all of that, we can't complain. The growth, in my opinion, is how basically you can keep like promoting people, right, as individual contributors. But my view of the business is that there's a moment that money is not only the only target that you can have, right? So I feel like people also sometimes they want, and don't get me wrong, some people they don't want to manage people, right? But I think we should be able to give that option. And until today, we haven't found a way to train in a correct way our managers. So I think the next step for Sermor Partners to grow is to be able to turn some of our top performers into these managers of the future, which is a very hard task, because when you have someone that is performing very well, right, that is like billing very well, earning very good money, typically they tell you like, why in the world gonna like have a team and like kind of use a part of my time in training other ones if I can do it by myself and earn more money, right? So that's a whole other story, but that's where our growth sits actually. That's where we need to go.
Yeah, just develop your team members more to take on some of those team members.
Middle management, I would say. Create middle management.
Excellent. What's your one advice for, well, actually two pieces of advice. One for employers who are looking for great candidates. What should they be doing, or how should they be assessing? And what's your one advice for candidates who are ready to take on more amazing job roles?
Candidates, the last one is?
What's your advice to candidates who want to be hired for these roles?
Okay, so I think I'm going to start from the last one. One thing I learned by being a recruiter, because I was always very competitive, trying to be the best of the best, right? And in parts of my life, because I'm an engineer, I'm like certain a lot of traits of all traits, like, so I'm a bit of everything sometimes, but I became really specialized in recruitment, and there's a reason for that. When I was talking to the best candidates in the market, even when there were like economic crisis out there, the ones that they were getting always interviews and they were getting jobs and they were getting like very good compensation packages were the candidates that they had specialized in a craft. So in my opinion, the advice I can give to a candidate if they want to be successful is find your craft and specialize in it. That, from a professional perspective, I know that they are the most wanted candidates in the market. The ones that they have stick to something, they know it very well, and that way, even when the times are dark, there's no way that you're not going to be hired. And that's what I did as a recruiter. I specialized in one specialty. I became an expert on that, and I know that I'm going to be very well standing for the rest of my life, I would like to say. And then on the client side, I think it depends a lot on the dynamic of your company, right? Typically we work with a lot of I would say companies that are from like 1,000 employees to less. So we do work with a lot of, I would call it like agile businesses, or businesses that are a bit more startup-ish, that they go fast. And typically those businesses, they want people with energy, right? So we to them we recommend to look into like candidates that they have a fast career track. Nowadays, if you're hitting your numbers, you're hitting your targets, you get promoted in less than 1 year. So look at that in the resume. And people are coming depending on the industry, but I would say if they have a fast career track and they come from a good education, that's a win. That's a win, always.
Amazing. Nico, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Where can people find you and connect with you online?
Well, they can find me on my LinkedIn, Nico Sanguinetti. I'm always there. That's kind of my house. And then if not, you can email me at nico@sermorpartners.com, and I'd be able to help you.
Thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you. Have a good one.